So when I first heard about New World and the fact that Amazon was launching their very own MMO, I was like, huh? You mean like Jeff Bezos is making a game? And I kind of brushed it off at first because I wasn't really expecting much out of an Amazon-based game. I mean, yeah, they have tons of dollar bills y'all to throw at the game, but does that necessarily always mean that it's going to turn into something good? No, just look at Blizzard and Activision. They got tons of money, and you see what a dumpster fire that's turned into recently. But after I got to reading and I watched some of my friends play some of the New World beta, I got interested. There's 3 different factions that are warring over control of different territories, and if you control a certain territory, you can tax the ever-loving shit out of the other faction whenever they do business in your territory. But then that faction can also turn around and declare war on that territory, and you have to fight to defend it. It's weird, but it's cool. The point of the matter is it seemed fun, it seemed new, it seemed different. And for someone who's a long-time MMO player but just hasn't been in love with the genre as a whole recently, I had to try it. Now, the first and most glaring issue that I will say is the fact that Amazon has all of the money in the world. They practically own the world, but every time recently since launch, you are greeted with this screen when you log in. Yes, you are waiting in a queue to play the game. And this isn't no average queue. This is a very long queue. I've seen people wait 6, 7, 8 hours to sometimes get into the queue. Now, admittedly, it's getting a little bit better recently. New World has added more servers to combat this. They have also said that sometime next week, they're looking into free server character transfer. So if you ended up on a different realm than your friend because you just wanted to get in on a lower pop one and play, you can then transfer to the server that you like. But currently, the server cap is 2,000. Excuse me? 2,000? This seems like a little bit of a miss to me, and I think this just goes to show that New World really had no idea how many players were going to be interested in this game, and I think it's well over 1 million at this point. Unique accounts have been created to play the game, and that number is only rising. New World has been dominating the Twitch directory, and I think one point it hit over 1 million viewers. And for an MMO to have that type of impact in 2021, it's hard to ignore. So now that all the servers are on fire over at Jeff Bezos' house, I think they got the message that people want to play this game, and hopefully server stability and server cap will be addressed over the coming weeks. But besides that main glaring issue of server stability right now, the game is great. The game is one of the most beautiful MMOs that I've ever had the pleasure of playing. The lighting systems in the game make dawn and dusk feel like a cinematic masterpiece, and the crafting and gathering professions, oh my Lanta. If you were ever a fan of RuneScape, this is going to be the new age MMO for you. Talk about the crafting. I could sit there and chop down trees like a goddamn lumberjack for 3 hours straight and still manage to have fun in New World. Everything is so pretty, and the crafting systems are super in depth, whether it's cooking or tailoring or fishing or logging or mining or dancing, but that's not really a profession, or taking all your clothes off and crawling around the town naked. New World always feels like there's someone something to do, and this is all without touching any of the actual missions in the game. There's a main storyline, there's side quests in each of these settlements that you'll go to, there's town boards that you can do little missions for that specific town, and then there's faction missions depending on which faction you pick to represent. Remember how earlier I said there were 3? Marauders, Covenant, Syndicate. Depending on which one you pick, and if you don't pick the Marauders, I don't know what you're doing with your life, you will have access to a host of other missions that you can do that will earn you faction rep. When you earn things like faction rep and faction tokens by completing those faction missions, you can buy faction rewards that'll be way better than what you're probably wearing. Admittedly, the Marauders are green and it's kind of hideous, but listen, you gotta do what you gotta do. The game's class system doesn't really exist. There are no specific classes for mages or warriors or warlocks like you would expect from something like maybe World of Warcraft, but this game does things a little bit differently. You pick up a weapon, you kill things to make the weapon level go up, and you basically have weapon talent trees that give you different abilities and passives for said weapon. If you have a great axe, you're going to have different abilities than if you were to have a fire staff, etc., etc. You can use 2 weapons at once, not dual wielding, but swapping between them. So in essence, you can swap builds mid-fight and use different abilities from, say, a fire staff, swap to your great axe, and use abilities from your great axe. There's one caveat to that because you can kind of get screwed here. That there's an attribute tree for things like strength, dexterity, intelligence, vitality, etc. Certain attributes give massive benefits to certain weapons. So it might not make the most sense to run a fire staff with a axe, because for the axe, you're going to need a lot of strength, but yet for the fire staff, you're going to need a lot of intelligence. Sure, there's going to be a lot of room for different crazy hybrid builds here, and I'm super excited to see what people come up with, but for the sake of being most efficient, you're kind of going to want to run 2 weapons that complement each other with the attributes. Luckily, the game systems do a really good job at explaining what does what and what benefits what, so you're not really left there confused. And overall, I think this game is super beginner friendly, even to people who aren't used to MMOs. So if you've never played an MMO in your life, which in 2021 somehow shocks me, but for some reason I seem to think think that nobody was born after the year 2000 because I'm old. Kind of in the same way that baby pigeons don't exist. I mean, seriously, have you ever seen a baby pigeon? Because I know I haven't. New World will suit you just fine, no matter your experience level. And to be honest, if you're not old and you're still young, you're probably going to be old by the time you get into the server anyway, so don't worry about it. Here's the bottom line. New World is one of the most fun MMO experiences I've had in a long time. It's one of those games that you cannot wait to get out of work to go home and play. You cannot wait to get out of school to finally log in, only to be met with this screen again. It is wildly addicting. How long will this honeymoon phase last? I have no idea, but I hope New World sticks around. And here's a couple of things that I think they can do to make sure this game does not go away and isn't just a flash in the pan. First and foremost, they gotta get the server caps up. We cannot only have 2,000 people in each server with Daddy Jeff Bezos' money. It just can't happen. So increase server capacity, continued effort to increase server stability. I think you're good there. Number 2 is something I call a commitment to content. Yes, the game is fresh now. There's crafting systems in the game that even rival the golden era of the RuneScape days, but crafting isn't enough to keep the game fresh forever. We need PvP incentives at endgame. We need new PvE content at endgame. So I'm talking about expansions, content updates. These are a must. They're staples in the community of gaming now. It's got to happen. And the third thing I think they need to really pay attention to make sure that New World keeps feeling alive and actually feeling like a real place, like a world, is events. A lot of games, not just MMOs, take a massive L by not taking advantage of events. We got things like Halloween coming up, Christmas time, different events in the spring and the summer. World of Warcraft does a really good job at always having an event always coming up around the corner, whether it was Brewfest or Love is in the Air in February. World of Warcraft did a great job of making sure the world changed a little bit and there was always something to do that was fun and unique every single year throughout the holidays. New World needs something like this, whether they take inspiration from the real world or they create events that are only specific to their fantasy lore universe. They gotta do something here. The game is beautiful at its core, yes, but picture this town that I'm standing in right now completely decked out in Halloween decorations. We're talking jack-o'-lanterns, scarecrows, witches flying over the top. Harry Potter falls from the sky. You know what I'm talking about? In-game events will keep a real sense of community and life to the game. Final closing thoughts. Here's my honest opinion. Give New World a try. It's $40, but I think it's worth every penny. It doesn't require a subscription fee like World of Warcraft or some of the other MMOs you're probably used to playing. And I always tell people like this, you'll probably spend between 30 and 40 bucks going to see a few movies out on the weekend, right? And that's for 6 hours of entertainment, give or take. If you even play New World for 15 to 20 hours after spending 40 bucks, there's a good entertainment value there, and I think it's worth it. Subscribe if you enjoyed the first video of the channel. Let me know down in the comment section what other type of New World content you want to see. I plan on covering a lot of different weapon builds, guides, beginner guides, whatever. We're going to do a bunch of stuff in New World. We're going to have damn fun doing it. Maybe we'll jump into some Diablo in the future too. Either way, I'd love to hear your opinions, and we'll see you in the next one.